All right, Jags with the most pressure heading into the 2022 season. I don't like to be too hypercritical. This is kind of more of my perspective on it. Make sure to feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys think, maybe who I left off or maybe who you guys may agree with or disagree with. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Don't take this too seriously. It's just guys who I think have something to prove in this upcoming season. And I'm going to be going through my top 5 Jags with the most to prove and under the most pressure. Before I get into it, make sure to like and hit subscribe. If you haven't done that already, it's free. You can unsubscribe at any point in time. Don't recommend you do that because I'm going to be putting out videos all throughout this season. And make sure to not miss anything I put out. Appreciate you guys clicking on the video. And let's get into it. All right, coming in at number 5, I have tight end Evan Ingram, who was brought in this season on a 1-year prove-it deal worth $9 million with $8.250,000 guaranteed money. Coming off last season, Evan Ingram did not have the year that I would assume he would have hoped to have. He had 46 receptions for 408 yards and 3 touchdowns, and in his whole entire career, his brief career so far, he's still young. In the NFL, he hasn't scored more than 3 touchdowns since his rookie season, where he had 6. Since then, it's been a lot of 3s and then 1, and just not a lot of production in the red zone, which is weird because of his physical nature and his build, his frame. And I think a lot of that stems from the situation that he's coming from in New York, where they've kind of had a rotating door at head coach. He's working with Daniel Jones. No shocker here, but if I was a receiver or a tight end, I would prefer not to have Daniel Jones be the one throwing me the football. You look at a guy like Evan Ingram and his build and his traits, and he's just an athletic freak with unreal speed, just a complete mismatch. So I think in a Doug Peterson offense where he utilizes his tight end significantly more than a lot of other head coaches do, I think he can thrive completely. And that was a huge reason he actually chose to come to Jacksonville in free agency. Was he loves Doug Peterson, loves what he did in Philly with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, which I could see him trying to replicate here with Evan Ingram and Dan Arnold. So I think Evan Ingram on a 1-year prove-it deal is under a little bit of pressure because he's not only playing for us, he's also proving himself for every other team in the NFL, just in case it may not go the way he had planned. Or if he does ball out, other teams can take notice of it and try and snatch him up before we extend him. So Evan Ingram, decent little bit to prove. Let's get to number 4. And this one might piss people off. And again, like I said, don't take it too seriously. But coming in at 4, I got Trevor Lawrence. It's not too big of a shock to say that he didn't have the greatest rookie season. What do you have? He had 3,600 yards passing, 3,641 to be exact, for 12 touchdowns, and a league lead in interceptions with 17. And I'm not going to put everything on him. But at the end of the day, you got to perform. And especially at a high level, because that's what he was brought in here to do. He was the number 1 pick for a reason, a generational talent at quarterback. But I think people are too fixated on people having to have an amazing rookie season right off the jump, because you're seeing it a lot more often now than you may have seen in the past, where it usually takes a couple of years. Josh Allen looked like a career backup after his rookie season. Horrendous. Look at him now. He's debatably a top 3 QB. So I fully expect him to take a huge jump in year 2. I think I can attribute a lot of his shortcomings last year to Urban Meyer and the utter dysfunction that was the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. If you watch the games, you saw receivers running into each other. You saw drop pass after drop pass. It was disgusting. But if you really watched the games and you really watched film and you looked at kind of the way that he is able to process the field at such a young age and use his eyes to, throw open receivers and lead guys with anticipation, it's something you don't see too often, but that's not something that showed up in the stat sheet just because of the dysfunction, the drops, the ridiculous route combinations. And that's something I don't think he's going to have to deal with this season. He's got an offensive-minded head coach who also played quarterback in the NFL, won a Super Bowl both as a player and a coach. So you have experience there, and we also brought in targets. You got a guy like Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, bringing back Viska, bringing back Marvin Jones. Jamal Agnew's rehabbing his injury, but he'll probably be back for week 1. You got ETN, who missed all of last season, coming back, and that's a familiar face for Trevor to work with. So I fully expect him to take a year 2 jump, and because of those expectations that we have for Trevor and the expectations he has for himself, I think it's fair to say that he's under a little bit of pressure this coming season. Coming at number 3, we have Laviska Shenault, or if you follow him on Twitter, Sack Guru, which is a fucking lie. The guy has 2 sacks throughout his entire career. It's been 2 years, and he has 2 sacks total. This guy was a first-round pick in 2020. We brought him in with CJ Henderson. And saying that out loud, that was our first round, is really, really heartbreaking because there were some studs around that area. We brought in some edge guys, some rotational pieces. Playing time isn't going to be as easy to come by as it has been in the past few seasons for Laviska. So with every rep, it really means a ton for him. He's really got to make the most out of every single opportunity he gets this year. Prove yourself in special teams. God forbid an injury happens, you have to step up and you got to play. And you got to play at a high level. If you look at him from a physical standpoint, he's not the biggest guy. But his burst and speed and athleticism is crazy for the position. And I think he's got the tools to become a really good third down, pass rusher. Struggles a little bit in the run. That's speaking a little lightly. But I think he has the traits to become a really good threat on third down and kind of rotate in and be that presence off the edge. And I think this season he's going to really have to step up and make the most out of every single opportunity that presents itself. So with that being said, I think Laviska has a decent amount of pressure because he's got 2 more years left on that deal, and I really doubt he's going to get a 5th-year extension if, the production kind of plateaus like it has been. And the main thing, is just taking advantage of every rep and finishing plays. Even when he does play and get snaps, you see him flash a few times. He just doesn't finish, and if you can finish and make plays, you can show why you belong in this league. Like I think you can. So with all that being said, that's why I have Laviska Shenault here at number 3. All right, number 2, little tough one. Juwan Taylor, right tackle. He's been here for 3 years now, and this is his 4th year, which means as a 2nd-round pick, this is your last season. This is a contract year. And he's coming off of a really, really tough 2021 season. He was 5th among offensive linemen in penalties and ranked 4th among offensive linemen in penalty yardage and accounted for 13.5% of our team's penalties, which was 2nd highest in the NFL. Going into a contract year, those numbers are not great, clearly. Putting that extremely, extremely lightly. You're in a situation where you're protecting our franchise under center. You have to protect Trevor, and you cannot cost us yards. And what makes it even more of a scary situation for a guy like Juwan Taylor is we drafted Walker Little in the 2nd round last year, and he played really well. You have some competition there. Schematically, the way we kind of have it figured out right now, it's more towards Juwan Taylor's skill set than it had been the past 2 or 3 years. So hopefully we can get a better, more fine-tuned version of Juwan Taylor playing at his strength. Because, he's, again, like I said with Evan Ingram, you're not just playing for the Jags, you're playing for your future in the NFL and trying to showcase your talent and abilities to the entire NFL. And he can prove that this season. He's just got to win the job, which is another thing. It's tough. You're going to see a lot of rotation with him and Walker Little throughout training camp and preseason, where it's tough to tell. There's a really good chance Walker Little snags that starting spot away from Juwan Taylor. It's tough. If you come off that kind of a season in 2021 and then are a backup in 2022, it's not looking great. I think Juwan Taylor's under an immense amount of pressure into this 2022 NFL season, and I hope him the best because I love Juwan. He's a Florida guy. I want to see him succeed. And coming in at number 1, I have Laviska Shenault, and maybe you can flip Juwan and Viska. I thought it was super close, but Laviska Shenault heading into year 3, had a really promising looking rookie year, Put up like 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, looked really nice, made plays with the football. And I was super excited about year 2. And then year 2 happened, where he had 31 more targets than he did the previous season. And that resulted in 5 more catches and 19 more yards. Also, the man did not score a single touchdown last season. Think about that. He was a starting receiver, and he did not touch the end zone.
That's terrible.
And last season, I mean, like I said before, you guys watched the games. You saw the amount of drops. I can think of like 5 off the top of my head. I can remember Laviska Shenault drops, which is not good. That's not ideal. His catch percentage dropped 10% in a year. It went from 73% to 63%, which is just not what you want to see. And our receiver room isn't fantastic, but we're adding bodies, which makes it crowded, and playing time becomes less and less available to you. Marvin Jones is back for his 2nd season. One of Trevor's favorite targets, really reliable. Brought in Zay Jones, gave Christian Kirk a huge contract. Jamal Agnew's back from injury. Travis Etienne is a receiving threat. Laquan Treadwell we brought back on a contract. The room's getting a little tight. With every route and every snap he takes, you got to perform, and you got to perform at a high level. So I think this season, Laviska Shenault has a ton of pressure riding on his shoulders, trying not to replicate his sophomore season. And I think he can do it. Very physical guy. I mean, he's just such a unicorn. Like, you don't see a receiver that's able to juke you out and then just run through you as if you were a power back. Like, you don't find guys like this too often. So you really got to maximize them. And, with an offensive-minded head coach like Doug Peterson, I really think he's going to be able to use Laviska in a way that really, utilizes his skill set and maximizes his potential, which, I'm really interested to see how that goes. And I'm hoping for the best when it comes to Laviska. I think he's a great talent. I think he's a great guy. Super fun to watch. Extremely dynamic, extremely strong, extremely versatile. I mean, he's a weapon. He's no Deebo Samuel, like people really try and enforce onto him just because he can move just because he can kind of move with the football. Not everyone is Deebo Samuel. It's a really lazy comparison. He's dynamic, but he's not Deebo Samuel. I mean, look at the speed difference. I mean, like, the burst on Deebo's crazy different than Viska. But I think he can still be a weapon and still be used in this league and really perform. So I think Viska has a decent amount of pressure for sure. I think Juwan and him are interchangeable. I guess you could say Juwan more so because he's on a contract season. But if Laviska doesn't perform, he's not going to play next year, because I'd be willing to bet that we're probably going to look to draft the receiver relatively high next year in the draft, as well as take a look in free agency, because Trevor Lawrence needs more. As of right now, on July 26, 2022, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones are not enough if you want to go far. So yeah, we're going to be looking to add more pieces in that room. So that room is only going to get more crowded. So yeah, those are my top 5 Jags under the most pressure heading into next season. Super excited to see how these kind of pan out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you agree with, or maybe what you disagree with about my top 5. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter. The link will be down in the description, also on the screen. Very active on there again. And yeah, appreciate you guys taking a look and watching this video. It means the world to me. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that post notification bell to get an alert every time I upload a brand new video. Appreciate you guys. As always, go Jags.